comes after. So, how many forecasts are we waiting on before Jesus comes back? Around 20. We're keeping our eyes peeled for those to unfold before we expect to see Jesus himself. Jesus said to keep watch and to pray. What should we be watching for? Well, we're not supposed to just sit around staring at the sky, waiting for Jesus to show up. That's not what he was getting at. He was saying we should stay alert to what's happening around us and look out for the clues he's given us to get ready. These clues are the signals. Let's flip to Matthew chapter 24, where Jesus' disciples asked him, "What are the clues for knowing when you're about to come back? What should we do if we don't know exactly when that will be?" Jesus didn't beat around the bush. He gave them a straight-up answer. We can be really thankful that he made it so clear. In the Revelation book, he goes into even more detail, but here, he just lays out the key signals that will show he's about to return. The disciples approached Jesus secretly as he was seated on the Mount of Olives. Matthew chapter 24, verses 3 through 8. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name claiming, 'I am the Messiah,' and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." In these verses, Jesus told us about 4 big clues that show us he's coming back. He said one of those clues is already happening, but the other 3 aren't here yet. That's why I think we're at the start of what's called the end times. So, what are these 4 big clues? The first one is about big global troubles, like wars between countries. These things have been happening for a really long time, over 2,000 years. But now, they're happening more often and feel stronger. We're definitely seeing this first clue. There are wars, scary rumors, shaking ground, and hunger. Jesus told us, don't be tricked. He said that many times. The closer we get to the end, the more we have to watch out for being fooled. Even people who go to church can be tricked. He warned us about people who pretend to be heroes or messiahs during these hard times. Some of these fakers have tricked people into following them to the middle of nowhere, and it ended very badly. But there are lots of these false prophets, people who say they can solve all our problems. The more troubles there are, the more of these fakers will show up. But Jesus tells us not to worry. Don't get too upset when we hear about another fight or sad event. He told us something shocking. Even though these events are sad, they're not the end. They're like the hard part before something new and good is born. When we hear about these troubles, it means something new is on the way. This should make us think differently. We know what's going to happen to the world. We shouldn't get too upset or scared, not like other people might. Troubles in the world are like the tough times before something new and good comes. So, we're different. We feel sad for people who are having a hard time, and we try to help, but deep down, we're not scared, we're hopeful. We're looking forward to something new and good coming out of all of this, so we're not down or scared by all the problems. In short, Jesus would tell us not to panic, not to get too worried, but to even rejoice and say, all these things happening are clues that something new is about to start. Number 2, April 8 solar eclipse. The one forming light and creating darkness, causing peace and creating disaster. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. On April 8, 2024, there will be a total solar eclipse that people all over the world are excited about. You can see it from places in North and Central America. Everyone from teachers to regular folks is talking a lot about it. You can find loads of chats, news stories, and websites filled with guesses, information and tips on how to watch this amazing sky show. This eclipse is getting people to talk about the story from the Bible about Jonah. Jonah was a man who ended up inside a whale for 3 days, but then got out safely in a place called Nineveh. What's really interesting is that the eclipse is going to pass over 7 towns named Nineveh, right here in the United States. This has made some people think there's a special meaning or message from the Bible happening with this eclipse. People have different ideas about it, but it sure makes the eclipse even more interesting to think about. Signs in the sky. Genesis chapter 1 verses 14 through 15 tells us about the creation of the sun, moon, and stars by God. He created them to act as signs, marking time and seasons. When we witness celestial events like eclipses, planetary alignments, and constellations, they remind us of a deeper spiritual significance. These events serve as memorials, reminding us of the sacred covenant established by God with Abraham. Through Jesus, this covenant continues, and he serves as a living testament to God's faithfulness. We are all waiting for April 8th to see one of the most amazing things in the sky, the eclipse. And here's something interesting to think about. If we can learn stuff from just looking at rocks, imagine what we can learn from the sun. And if little streams can tell us stories, think about the amazing stories the sun can tell us, especially when it looks like it's disappearing for a bit during the eclipse. Everything around us, every single thing you can see, hear, or touch, has something to teach us. So, let's get ready to learn. There's nothing out of there that doesn't have an important lesson for us. Is an eclipse a sign of the end times? The Bible mentions various events of the end times which are connected to celestial occurrences, such as the sun, moon, stars, shooting stars, and even solar and lunar eclipses. These celestial events are described in the Bible when it mentions what will happen in the end times. For instance, when someone asked about the end times, Jesus said, "And there will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And here on earth the nations will be in turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange tides." Luke chapter 21, verse 25. It's natural that, when unusual or not often seen space events happen, lots of people reflect on the end times. Why? Verses like Matthew 24, verse 29 come to mind. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, it says, "Immediately after the anguish of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken." Isaiah chapter 13, verse 10, "The heavens will be black above them, the stars will give no light, the sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will provide no light." During a solar eclipse, the sun appears significantly dimmer as the moon passes between it and the earth, blocking its light. Similarly, during a lunar eclipse, the moon appears darker as it passes through the earth's shadow and reflects less light. So yes, there does seem to be a possible connection between an eclipse and the end times. It should be noted that there is no way to connect a specific eclipse with the fulfillment of end times prophecy. Eclipses are actually quite frequent, with a total solar eclipse happening somewhere on Earth about once every 18 months. Partial solar eclipses occur multiple times per year, while total lunar eclipses occur almost every year in most parts of the world. Jesus has mentioned that a sign will appear immediately after the distress, which is a reference to the abomination of desolation in verse 15. The sign will appear during a time of great distress, which is said to be unequaled from the beginning of the world till now, and will never be equaled again as stated in verse 21. Jesus is talking about a very difficult time that will be worse than anything else ever in the world. He tells us it's going to be so bad that if it lasted too long, nobody would make it through. This time of great trouble is going to happen in the middle of a period called the tribulation.